Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. I'm your host, David Bell, and I'm here joined today with two gentlemen of great expertise in the area of relocation into the US. We have Mohammed Asaria from Range Developments in Dubai. Mohammed, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, David.
Pleasure to be here. And we also have Bob Kraft from First Pathway Partners. Good afternoon, Bob.
Yeah, good day, David. Thank you.
So I will just kick off by introducing our speakers, a little bit more background about them, and then I'm going to pose some questions. There are opportunities for you to pose questions through this session that we will take on as we move forward. We've also got some polls that we're seeking to find out a little bit about more our audience, where they're from, whether they're looking at active relocation cases at the moment. So first, just to introduce Bob Kraft. Bob has 40 years experience in helping international families come and invest in the US. He has worked with clients from across the globe in gathering, driving investment, creating jobs in the US under the EB-5 program and through other vehicles and immigration programs, drawing investment in to the US. He is the CEO and chairman of First Pathway Partners. He is the president of II-USA, Invest in USA. Have I got that right, Bob? Is that II-USA? How do people say it?
No, II-USA, that's correct.
II-USA, and that's an organization that it has partner firms which helps drive investment into the US, I imagine.
Yes, that's a nonprofit association based in Washington, D.C. that operates globally on behalf of partners around the world and regional centers in the United States to support investors to make sure that they have safe entry into the United States and a good experience and achieve what they want to achieve.
Terrific. And so since 2008, First Pathway Partners has assisted hundreds of immigrant visas from over 40 countries come to the US under the EB-5 program, raising millions in funds and creating jobs. So terrific to have you and your expertise here this afternoon.
Thank you.
And just coming to Mohammed Asaria. So Mohammed is the managing director of Range Developments in Dubai. They are a leading hospitality development company that specializes in luxury resorts in the Eastern Caribbean and citizenship by investment programs. Mohammed is a graduate of Trinity College, Cambridge, and has worked with city law firm Hogan Lovells, and more recently was at HSBC in Dubai. So he's got terrific pedigree and experience before setting up Range Developments in 2012. Range Developments have gone on to be the only developer to have completed 2 5-star resorts under citizenship by investment programs that we're going to be hearing more about today. But I hope that has set the scene correctly, gentlemen. And I will come to you first, Mohammed, for just some questions. So for the audience, what distinguishes Range Developments from other developers in the Caribbean? Mohammed, I think we've lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Go ahead. What makes Range different from other developers?
Thank you, David, and good afternoon, Bob. Pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. So look, I think you really hit the nail on the head during your during that introduction, where you said we're the only developer who delivered, and we've delivered 2 luxury 5-star hotels, the Park Hyatt in St. Kitts, which was named by CNN as the best hotel in the Caribbean in 2017, put on the top 100 hotels by Condé Nast in the same year. We opened Kempinski in 2018 to similar reviews and accolades. And, most importantly, over that time, we've helped 1,600 families and over 4,000 individual investors with their second citizenship journey in the Caribbean. I mean, we've had the privilege of creating 2,300 jobs in the islands in which we operate. So, it's really been delivery on three fronts: delivery for the government, delivering what we said we would, creating employment, creating economic prosperity, and also ensuring that the investors received what they were looking for, which is an investment and a second citizenship in the many islands in which we operate.
So just from a development perspective, as a developer, why is it that you uniquely have been able to execute these two projects that you've completed and have a third on the runway?
So look, David, if you look at it, most people think building on a beach is easy. Most people consider a beach to be a benign development experience. Unfortunately for us, it's not. So, we focus on execution first, and then the citizenship by investment capital raise. So, I have a business partner. He's based in Grenada. He's been based in St. Kitts and Dominica for the past 5 to 6 years since he's been there. And he has a long and distinguished pedigree in construction. And, first and foremost, we have to make sure we have the right team to execute. We make sure our projects are well designed, built with the local climate in nature, whether that's in terms of being hurricane resistant or seismic resistant. And we understand what's in the client's mind, the tourist's mind as well. And then we adapt it for citizenship by investment. Just because you stick a CBI badge on a project, it doesn't mean miraculously all of a sudden it makes sense. A project has to be designed sensibly. It has to be sustainable. And therefore it's going to have longevity. And that's where Range is different. We're a developer first, and then citizenship by investment forms part of our DNA. And that's why, we've had so many people who trust us, and we work with the leading brands, whether that's Hyatt Corporation, Kempinski, or Intercontinental Hotel Groups, now with the Six Senses in Grenada that you mentioned.
Thank you. And I'm going to bring in Bob shortly on this point, but I mean, how important is the E2 visa access as part of the proposition that you're offering the client base?
So look, I think you set the scene quite nicely there. Grenada is the only Caribbean country with a citizenship by investment program, which benefits from an E2 visa. Maybe I can set the scene here. For some of us who remember, Grenada was invaded by the United States in 1983 at the end of the Cold War, and as part of the treaty at the end of the war, they were awarded something called an E2 visa. An E2 visa at its simplest is an entrepreneur visa. It's a business visa. A Grenadian has the ability to live and reside and invest in the United States, invest in his own business, which Bob will talk about shortly. And in return for that investment and passing the consular interview, him and his family can move to the United States within a 2-month period of becoming Grenadian. In fact, on a global comparative basis, Grenada is only one of 3 countries which has an E2 visa treaty, which has a citizenship program. The other 2, Turkey and Montenegro, I believe, are really non-starters when it comes to looking at it as a U.S. strategy. Why? Because every E2 treaty is different. Grenada has a 5-year multiple entry, indefinitely renewable E2 visa treaty. Montenegro is only available for 12 months, and the price of the citizenship is double. If you look at the other country with a similar E2 treaty, it's Turkey. But, then you look at the comparative advantages of Grenada. It has visa-free travel. It's very near to your new home, Grenada, and it's apolitical. It provides a stable operating environment for an individual. That's safety and security they're looking for. So, if you look at the conversations we have, whilst I can't give you exact numbers as to what percentage of our investors go on to do the E2, but in every single discussion, it features. And whether it's a short term, that I want to be in the US in 6 months, or one day my children may consider benefiting from the educational benefits which come from an E2, in that children under 18 can attend the state school system without charge. There's some university privileges. So in all the discussions it comes up, and whether it's a short or long-term strategy or optionality, for want of a better word, it's become really important and really topical.
Okay, thank you. So Bob, I mean, how do you work with the E2 visa clients in terms of assisting them on their journey of coming to the US?
Well, as Mohammed said, Grenada has the best treaty program with the United States to facilitate people entering the United States in a very short period of time. And we've been primarily involved with the EB-5 program since 2007. We began actively marketing in 2008, and we've been very successful with it. And the program, as probably most people know, has been extremely successful. It's had a huge impact on the United States economy, and we're excited about its future. But there are a number of countries that are retrogressed right now, backlogged, and so for their wait time, it's pretty significant. The Grenadian Citizenship program allows, combined with E2, allows an individual to actually be within the United States inside of a year, based on the speed with which Grenada processes applications for what I feel is to be a very fair fee. It has a good investment scheme. It's solid, and the project that Range is doing is very, very attractive. And then as soon as citizenship is issued in Grenada, then they can apply for the United States E2 program. We have a product offering that has been built in a scalable way for people that would like to come to the United States, and makes it easy for them to qualify for E2. And the two programs combined, you can be very close to under a year, and you're in the United States. The E2 program does not require international worldwide taxation, which is a benefit and of interest to a lot of investors. The EB-5 program, you are subject to worldwide taxation. However, we encourage people to seek tax advice from experts that understand how to structure trusts and different things to minimize that bite. But you don't really have to mess around with that under the E2 program. So it's a visa, it's a 5-year visa, it's renewable. People could stay in the United States for the balance of their lives under the E2 visa if they'd like to. They would not be able to vote or hold citizenship. It is not a permanent green card, but it's a really good program. So depending on someone's situation, their life goals, it's a really viable opportunity, and we're really excited to be partnered with Range Development on this offering.
Great. And for those coming over, setting up businesses, do you support them to identify opportunities through which they can invest depending on their experience, knowledge, level of activity in the business? How does that play out?
Well, for First Pathway Partners, we've put together a restaurant offering that's national, with a very successful chain out of Denver, Colorado. It's called Teriyaki Madness. We like the company. We looked at over 100 franchises and finally ended up, after a lot of due diligence, working with these folks. They have been very successful. They're a strong financial performance historically. All the documents are done. And the thing that's really interesting, if an individual would like to live in Florida or California or Wisconsin, New York, it really doesn't matter. We have national access. They invest their money. They own the franchise. They will enjoy very strong cash flow. But the thing that really distinguishes it, Teriyaki Madness provides a management company that actually runs it for the investor. So imagine me or Mohammed going into a foreign country and trying to run a business, not knowing local customs, laws, et cetera, culture. It'd be very, very difficult to be successful. Not that you couldn't be, but this kind of puts experts in control for a very fair nominal fee. They can be as active as they'd like to be in the business, or they can be involved. Their spouse can be involved in other businesses. They can go to school. Their children can. State paid education for high school and universities, depending on where they end up residing. So it's a good way to get introduced to the United States. And as I said, if they'd like to be actively involved, they can do so. If they'd like to be really chairman of the board and just oversee the operation and have experts run it for them, do the hiring, the day-to-day operations where they don't have to worry about that, and receive regular weekly reports from a financial standpoint. It's a very good setup, and it's a very viable business. So we think it's and it has been very attractive. So we're excited about it.
Great, and you're bringing all that experience to the table to help international families with these what can be quite challenging moves. I mean, how many people have First Pathway Partners helped to secure residency in the US in the time you've been?
Well, we've been involved in just short of $2 billion worth of development in the United States, and we're one of the few regional centers in the United States. There are only 8% of the regional centers active in the United States that have more than 10 years experience. We're in that category. We're also one of the few that have successfully moved people through 526 and the 829, which is the permanent green card authorization and return capital. And I would say there's only a handful of people that can say that. Not that they're not good operators, but we've spent a lot of time early on making sure we had all the legal work done properly. In fact, our early legal documents were written by the people that wrote the law for EB-5 in the United States, and a former acting director of USCIS, which is the agency which oversees the program in the United States for EB-5 and other immigration programs, is an attorney that represents us and does a lot of work for us. And his insight, having worked in the government and involvement with that particular agency, is incredibly helpful to us to make sure that the documents are properly presented and touch all the bases with respect to the aspects of the law, which is complicated. So we've tried to take the complexity out of it, make it as easy as possible, although it is a complex project, but we do that. We've brought in just short of 1,000 people in the United States in the 12 plus years we've been involved in the business.
Terrific. So great to have all that insight there. Mohammed, just to bring you back in. So the efficiency of the CBI program in Grenada has changed in the last 6 months. So what kind of measures have been taken in order to rise this up the rankings? That's what I'm getting from you guys, is that it's the Grenada position has really come to fruition right now. And can you maybe set out a little bit more about why now and what's changed? Oh, can't hear you. Your audio, Mohammed.
4 things happened in early 2019, David, which coincided with our entry into the island of Grenada. The first was a price realignment. Historically, the price required a minimum investment of $350,000. That was realigned to $220,000 for certain priority projects, of which the Six Senses is one. So that was a big thing. So now Grenada is on a level playing field with the other Caribbean islands. The next thing which happened was a more generous definition of dependence, because if you look at where most of our investors and where most of Bob's investors are coming from, you have China, you have Africa, you have basically the emerging markets, where family sizes can be quite large and people wish to migrate with a couple of generations. So Grenada permits grandparents, parents, children, and uniquely it allows siblings subject to certain conditions. The third change which marked our entry into the island of Grenada was the exit route for the investor. So after 5 years, you invest approximately $250,000 in the Six Senses. You can sell it to someone else who also wants a passport, and you retain your citizenship, and it's passed down through the generations according to the Constitution of Grenada. And you really hit the nail on the head with passport processing or citizenship processing efficiency. So, historically, I'd say from about 2017, 2018, timelines in Grenada were over a year for citizenship processing. These have now come down to 90 days without compromising the due diligence process in any way. And really what it was is the introduction of streamlined processes, digitization. Today, you can make a full application online for your citizenship. There's been a new CEO and new chairman of the unit. I mean, I get messages from him at 3 a.m. Grenada time. It's a hard-working team because the government of Grenada recognizes how important citizenship is to the country's economy, and they've taken on board best practices from not only regional citizenship units, but global citizenship units to ensure they're able to achieve that 3 months. But no one should think that this is a pay-and-play scheme. It's an iterative process. Due diligence is done by third-party international companies, as well as non-civilian checks are done on the individuals through the various non-civilian databases. So there is a detailed level of investigation because the government wants to protect the integrity of the program, because that will ensure its longevity. Remember, they have a very close relationship with the United States because of the E2 visa program, and that's not something the government of Grenada are willing to compromise in any way, shape, or form.
So this is an important program for Grenada, so they want to make sure that it's not abused, it's properly managed and regulated. I mean, is that what I'm hearing from you?
25 to 30% of the country's GDP is coming from the citizenship program, so it's significant.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. And just looking at some of the poll results on our audience, 43% of the audience are from India, 26 from China, 21 from Nigeria, sort of echoing what you were saying, Mohammed, about where your audience comes from. Are they the sort of key economies that you tend to see the majority of the demand for a sort of E2 and citizenship by investment program coming from?
100%. I mean, today it's Russia, China, Vietnam, India, West Africa, Southern Africa, and the Middle East. And today let's look at some of the conversations we're having, going slightly off piste from your question. It's not about mobility, it's about migration. COVID has created not just a short-term economic shock in the emerging markets, but something which is going to be felt long-term. It's going to affect the economy for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, and a lot of people are talking about the potential for civil unrest. I mean, my business was born in 2012, and that came out of the Arab Spring, which, in my humble opinion, was directly attributed to the global financial crisis of 2008, with soaring youth unemployment levels, which resulted in some of the movements in 2011 and 12 with the Arab Spring. COVID could create similar issues, and high net worth individuals are looking at, does where I'm living provide security for my family and the ability for economic growth for my business? And a lot of answers or a lot of discussions, the high net worth individual is not sure if that's the case and are looking to hedge it by taking out a second citizenship with the ability to migrate to one of the world's largest trading economies, which is the United States, for them to invest there, because whatever the current situation, the United States will come out of this pandemic first. You're seeing that with the stock markets and also the amount of stimulus which is being put in. The United States always will be put better. I think in the words of Warren Buffett from a couple of weeks back, he said, "Never bet against the United States." And a lot of people take heed of such remarks. Wouldn't you agree, Bob? I think your volume, Bob.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, yes, you're already seeing the country reopen. It's interesting. The United States has 50 states, and each state has different makeups demographically and different nationalities. And we are a country of immigrants for sure. My family originally was from Ireland and Germany. The governors in each state are closely monitoring what's happening with COVID and then addressing that appropriately in terms of reopening. Some of the states have been open for about a month now with great success. Wisconsin's opened up, and you're seeing us get back to business in a smart way. It's a little bit of a different way until we have a total handle on this thing. From a healthcare perspective, although we were pressed early on and had some challenges in support of people who were ill, we have a significant amount of capacity. The healthcare industry and the government ramped up quickly, and we're in pretty good shape. And it looks like we'll have a vaccine by the end of the year, which is driving the stock market, as Mohammed mentioned. And businesses, are looking to get back to business. Our unemployment rate's significantly higher than it's ever been right now, but it's coming down rapidly, and the country will survive it, and then hopefully be stronger as we go forward and smarter in terms of being able to handle future challenges health-wise, which the whole world faces. So we're optimistic, and things are looking up here, and we're excited about the future.
I mean, the perception from the outside, Bob, is that it's very, very challenging to get US residency. So if you're setting out with a client in an emerging market, actually the steps that can be used to achieve it, is it sometimes surprising to them that actually, how that you can work with them in order to secure something that they perceive to be, impossible to get?
Well, there's no question it is a challenge. Now, if on EB-5, which is a great program, if you're not from one of the countries that have been significantly engaged with the program and are backlogged right now, China, India, Vietnam has a small backlog, although that's reducing, then getting into the United States in a relatively short period of time is not a problem. But if you're from one of those countries that are backlogged, the Grenada program is a great program, and actually, even for programs that aren't retrogressed, there are some advantages based on your situation to go through Grenada and then E2 from a timing standpoint. And then people are applying for the EB-5 program, and if it takes 5 years or longer than that, whatever it takes, they're already in the United States, and they're able to get the kids into school and begin learning business in the United States and get started. So it's I call it a workaround. But it's a really, really good way to go based on your personal situation. So if speed is what you're looking for, Grenada and then E2 is a really, really, that'd be on the top of my list. Mohammed invited my partner and I, Dan Wicklund, down to Grenada in August. Part of our due diligence to get to know Mohammed better, and I've had the privilege to be with him in a number of conferences in Europe over the last couple of years, and we went down for the groundbreaking for his property, met with the Prime Minister of Grenada and all their cabinet members, and I've got to say it was one of the most impressive meetings I've ever been with. They're, as Mohammed said, serious, they're committed, they're professional, they have their act together, and we're real excited to be working with Mohammed and the government of Grenada, and it's a really solid option.
Great. And Mohammed, I mean, sketch out Grenada for those who maybe have just seen an image of a Caribbean island. What are the features of the island? Your hotel developments have had some fantastic press. What is it that it offers people?
So look, David, Grenada has your ideal Caribbean beach, turquoise waters, white sand. It's at the southern side of the Caribbean, so 100 miles south of where the hurricane belt hits. It's undulating. It's got some natural topography as well as some beautiful beaches, which is rare. It has a fantastic airport. It has fantastic airlift. So twice a week from London on British Airways and Virgin. I think there's 6 or 7 flights out of the US from various hubs in Canada and 1 or 2 European things. So airlift is great in terms of being able to support the hotels. I'd say 50% of the economy is based on tourism. The Six Senses will be the first 5-star ultra luxury branded property in Grenada. And I'm using the word branded because there are 1 or 2 5-star hotels there, but this will be the first high-end branded hotel, which will really put a halo effect on the whole tourism sector in Grenada. And the strategy is to actually build 2 hotels on the 80 acres of land we've acquired. We've signed an MOU for the second hotel as well, but let's concentrate and execute on the first. Grenada also has 25% of its GDP coming from education. And this is something which not everyone knows, but 1% of the world's doctors have graduated from St. George's University in Grenada. Close to 1,000 individuals from this university graduate directly into the US in terms of residencies every year. It's one of the largest provider of residents into the US under the medical system. So not bad for a country of 112 or 113,000 people. As Bob said, we had the privilege of welcoming him and Dan to Grenada. I think it was at some stage back end of last year. We're very grateful for them for coming to spend some time with us in Grenada. And I was very kind when Bob reciprocated the invitation, and we went up to Milwaukee and we saw some of Bob's existing developments. And that's why we're working together on this. We're very comforted with first pathway, and I think something which you said early on in terms of finding an investment opportunity from an individual who is either, I'm looking at the poll, from China, India, Nigeria, or South Africa, so far away. You know, business is not something which is done on Google, and you don't learn business on Google. So learning the customs and learning the laws and how things work in the United States, if it's your first foray into business, it's always good to have a guardian angel. And I think First Pathway provide that guardian angel platform with themselves and with this Teriyaki Madness franchise offering, to ensure that people have the best opportunity of being successful in their business in the United States. Because look, David, myself, you, Bob, we've all set up businesses, and I'm sure there's a lot of people on this call, and we know how difficult it is to do it in our home country. Doing it further afield, off the bat, it's a difficult enterprise, and that's why I think you need the support system that First Pathway operates. So we're very, very pleased to be working with them on this Grenada E2 opportunity.
Thank you. And Bob, do you work with people moving all across the United States? I mean, do they tend to head for the sort of big cities, or do you find that there's a real mix in where people decide to settle and take up business opportunities?
Yeah, in terms of living, so the EB5 program is interesting in that, and attractive. You can invest in Milwaukee, where the majority of our projects have been, although we're active in Southern California also, and in the Chicago area. And we love the state of Wisconsin. It's a great place, but it's cold. So, I mean, that's a drawback. But we sell Wisconsin hard. It has unlimited water. We're on the Great Lakes. It's in the middle of the country. 33% of the population is within a day's drive. So from a business standpoint, it's very attractive. It's the manufacturing, logistical, and it's becoming a very high-tech center. We don't have the issues with tornadoes and hurricanes and different things. So, you know, you don't have to worry about that or power shortages. It's a very stable area, and it's a very welcoming, warm area. In terms of the people here. However, the climate gets rugged in the winter, but it doesn't matter to us Midwesterners because all we do is work anyway. So we're in our offices, and if you're raised in it, that's one thing. But if you're used to warmer climate, you know, you're going to look at Florida or California or Arizona, Texas. And our applicants, we've had a few settle in the Midwest. But I would say the majority of the people, and it depends on what country they're from, but California is a very desirable destination for a lot of reasons. The climate, obviously, you know, big economy, and the quality of life is very good. Actually, it's very good in all states. But California is a big destination for people migrating to the United States. Texas is quite popular. Florida is very popular, especially for the investors we work with from South America. And there's, you know, easy air travel, and they've got a great climate, no taxes in the state. Texas has no taxes. So those are things that people look at as well. California is fairly expensive. Tax-wise, New York is very expensive. So, you know, it depends on your situation. All areas have their special attributes that people might find attractive. The university systems are very important to a lot of people, and most of the states have strong systems. But again, you know, if you're interested in a California school and they have great institutions, then you know, people, that's part of their thought process and their final decision making. But EB5, I guess, let me just finish. I'm sorry. In the EB5 program, you can live anywhere in the United States. E2 is a little different. You can live anywhere in the United States, but then at the 5-year renewal time with the government, and it's usually a perfunctory type of renewal. But if you live in Florida and your business is in New Jersey, you may be questioned, well, how often are you up there? Do you have an apartment there? Are you really actively engaged with the business? So we recommend people find a franchise or a business location close to so that they can demonstrate they're actively involved. And again, as I said earlier, they don't have to be there day to day. They can spend time on the phone with the management company running it. But it's a little different with E2. So, but we have access to franchise locations all over the country. So I guess the first thing we would encourage is they decide where they want to live, whether it be for educational purposes, low taxes, that type of thing, and then we work with them and we provide advice on that, finding a location that works not only for them but also for the government E2 program.
And historically, I mean, did you used to travel out a lot to, China, India, or did people come to you, or how did you sort of get those initial meetings with families investing? I mean, do you work with intermediaries who partner with you to help these families move to the U.S.?
We do both. China has been historically our largest market. I've been to China 66 times. We have offices in China, and they represent us there. We work with both agents, and we've had people come to us directly. So it's a little bit of both. The agent network in China is very knowledgeable, and they do a very nice job of presenting the EB-5 program. Every country is a little bit different. We also have offices in Vietnam and South Korea, in Taiwan. We're active in Hong Kong, have a presence there, Dubai, Delhi. We're looking to expand our sales presence. We're out of Miami, is active with partners and folks who work for us in South America. So we're pretty much global, and it has entailed a lot of traveling, and people do like to meet the representatives of the company. I do think, though, and I'd be curious of Mohammed's feeling on this, with this pandemic, these webinars have been very effective. We've been doing a lot of that, and we've actually been able to reach large numbers of people. It's been very cost effective. And then our follow-up internally is very good. We have a very knowledgeable staff, and we communicate based on their time zone. So it's changing a little bit in terms of I'm not sure any of us will travel as much as we used to, but I could be wrong on that. I do like the travel aspect. I've learned so much about different countries and cultures, and have tremendous respect for people in their various situation, and the histories of those countries and what they've been through and what they've experienced, how they operate. So it's fascinating. It's a very enjoyable business, and it's been very rewarding for us to help people enter the United States.
Wonderful. Mohammed, your perspective on this working environment, all from our desktops rather than the airport lounges and global travel. What's your take?
So look, when the pandemic or the lockdown first started, I think it was beginning of April here in Dubai, and I was very negative and very bleak about the future. But with perseverance, we didn't face a reduction in business in terms of executions in the month of April and May, and let's hope it continues like that. And that's largely attributable to what Bob said. We've been on these webinars, as you know, David, regularly. I mean, 2 to 3 times a day, going out. I mean, we had 1,000 registrations for this webinar. I can't tell how many people have dialed in. But that shows that there's 1,000 people from all over the world who are interested in listening to the three of us, which means that either they find us entertaining, which I don't really think so, but they're probably more interested in the content which we have to offer. And those are either direct clients or intermediaries. And with the right follow-up and with the right interaction through this medium, which has now become acceptable, our reach as companies as Range and First Pathway has become tremendous. What I'm achieving in a week in terms of my outreach, I couldn't achieve in a month. I mean, earlier on we were doing a webinar in Nigeria. Now this is reaching out to India, China, and Vietnam. We have one more today, reaching out into South America. So it's a really phenomenal reach that the internet platforms have permitted us. And that's something I think we have to capitalize on. Bob, just like myself, or myself just like Bob, had tremendously busy travel schedules before, flitting from one side of the globe to another. And yes, whilst there is an advantage in that, I think this pandemic will make sure we think a couple of times before we jump on an airplane, and rely more on this technology. And I think that's going to be one of the benefits. And we haven't seen a reduction in business as a consequence. I mean, just to really echo with something which Bob said, we're based here in Dubai because we're near our investor markets, whether that's Africa, the subcontinent, or Asia. Historically, Emirates has provided fantastic connectivity, and I'm sure that will reopen soon. We have, I think, all the key languages being spoken out of this office, and our relationship managers are constantly forming new relationships and nurturing existing relationships in those markets with introducers and clients. And I think that's important to the continued success of that business. And I think, as Bob mentioned, he's been in this business close to 2 decades, if I heard you correctly, Bob. We've been in this business now coming up to a decade. So that's close to 3 decades of experience at the forefront of our relevant industries that you have on this call. And with all of our distribution network support and our investor support, let's hope we can make that a couple more decades.
And the technology can facilitate these investment processes. Because obviously we talked about the vetting. Everything can be done online. Why don't you just set out, Mohammed, the processing side being very smooth, enabled by the technology?
Oh, it's all digitized. You can file your application for citizenship online. Those documents run through the unit online. They're submitted to the due diligence agency, which then goes and does checks. And the searching of the non-civilian databases is also an online process. So, digitization in Grenada, it's working and it's ensuring efficiencies. And I believe, as regards with the E2, Bob, you'll have to correct me here. How does that work from an online perspective? I know there's a consular interview, which has probably put things on just waiting for the consuls to reopen. But that's just the final interview you go through, which is in person.
Yeah,
digital, Bob.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear specifically what.
Just to say that the technology is enabling also these applications to move through. So Mohammed was saying from the Grenada side, that's all digital. On the E2 side, are people able to complete the applications online? There's no limitation. People can transact on these things, start the process moving now. What's your observation on the digital sort of vetting and application process under the E2?
Yeah, I would say that the Grenada program and what Mohammed's put together is probably a little far ahead of the U.S. government in terms of being able to do everything online. Certainly, a lot of the documents can be passed digitally, but there is a little more manual intervention, and we facilitate all that. So, from the client standpoint, it's pretty easy. The consular. The interviews are in the consular offices. They're much faster than if the EB5 program's a little bit different in terms of where that interview is held, and it's a little bit backed up. But it's fast and efficient. But I think the Grenada program that Mohammed's put together is a little easier, a little faster in terms of the application of technology. They're a little bit ahead of us, so maybe we'll get there.
That's great to hear. So just some closing thoughts and comments. I mean, Mohammed, for you first, what is it that you want to leave people with who've joined this webinar? What's your closing thoughts?
So look, before I get on to closing thoughts, something we haven't really touched upon. Because just looking at the nationalities of individuals here, as far as Indian investors are concerned, there could also be significant tax efficiencies using a Grenada option and an E2 option. There has been some talk earlier this year of the Indian tax system going on a similar basis as the US, which is based on citizenship. Now, a lot of our clients are NRIs, non-resident Indians, based in a tax-neutral jurisdiction. So when the budget came out earlier this year, there was a little bit of an outcry that they would be taxed on their worldwide income, even though they may have lost their only connection to India was their citizenship. This was then, the reaction to this outcry was a memo from the finance ministry, which basically said if you're a bona fide worker, you don't have to pay tax on your global income to India if you're an NRI and don't pay tax anywhere else. However, the term bona fide worker wasn't defined. So when I ask tax consultants what it means, they say a $2 million bill in litigation when an investigation starts. So as a consequence of that, we've also seen individuals go down the second citizenship option route for that. Once you put the E2 tax benefits on there that you have to spend, I think it's 122 days. But again, please, let's involve tax advisors from the outset. That provides a holistic solution, not just for the American side, but also potentially deals with some of the other challenges. So the benefits of second citizenship, they shouldn't just be thought of on an E2 basis, but it's an option B. It provides security, it provides global mobility, as well as tax efficiencies. But the U.S. is critically important. I acknowledge that, and I think when you get to that stage, having a guardian angel, having someone you can rely on like First Pathway and Bob's team to assist you with the migration process into the United States, that is something which is invaluable. They're not just going to leave you at that agent's office in China. They're going to help you through that whole process to make sure, or do as much as they can to make sure that your passage into the United States is one of ease and is not going to be challenging. And from our side, on the Grenada side, you can be certain that you will end up with an investment in a fantastic resort. We're the only people who've had a track record of delivery, as you mentioned at the outset. And I think more due to good luck than to anything else, our resort in Grenada has really been designed for the luxury traveler in the post-COVID era. We're building 100 rooms on 26 acres. That is a very low density build. The car parks are 3 meters wide. The reception has been pulled apart into small little isolated desks. There's 39 swimming pools in the resort. So it really is not a high intensity block, 200 rooms on 3 acres, which you argue of whether that is luxury anymore or whether that is a relevant tourism destination. So, from an investment side, it works in the post-COVID landscape. And very shortly, we'll be announcing the date which our other 2 hotels will be reopening, and it will be in Q2 and Q3 respectively. So we're very glad to be getting back into business. Now the green shoots of recovery are being seen, and we look forward to inviting all of you to the Caribbean to come and visit us and come and stay with us. So thank you, David, and thank you, Bob, for both of your support.
Thank you. Bob, do you have any closing thoughts? I mean, also incorporate, Mohammed mentioned about tax efficiency, which we haven't really discussed. I don't know if you've got any comment on that. And if you want to move to what you want to leave people with, I think that would be great.
On the tax issue, that's a really important one that should be looked at early on. And we recommend, we have a whole team, group of different international tax experts in various countries that understand the tax laws in that country and communicate properly, either because they have those language skills or they understand what's relevant in that country and then how the U.S. tax system works and how to properly structure investments to mitigate tax obligations in the United States. We're not tax experts, but we've aligned ourselves with people who are. So we recommend that early on that people get advice in that front, especially for people that are high net worth individuals that want to make sure they're smart about not paying more than they have to pay. Tax obligations in the United States are treated very seriously. That's part of the whole American thing. If you're going to participate in the American system, benefit from the size of the economy and the educational system, healthcare, et cetera, you will participate in the tax system. But through good planning, you won't pay more than you have to, and not nearly as much as published in terms of the maximum allowance. So that's a really important first step. With respect to anything else an individual might need when they consider coming to the United States, including banking opportunities in the area that they've decided to live in, school systems, et cetera, we provide whatever information they need. We have a very broad U.S. national reach. I've run large national companies, international companies prior to getting involved with this. I have an extensive network, and the company does, throughout North America. And if it's a particular city that somebody wants to go to, if we don't know an individual specifically, we know an individual who knows. And we provide that as a free service to make it comfortable and easy for people to enter into the United States. The United States, in spite of the challenges we're dealing with right now, and we'll get through it, is the largest economy in the world. It's a great place, and what we're seeing globally, I'm sure it's all over the news. The protests and demonstrations, that's part of the whole American thing too. Free speech, it's protected, and people are expressing their point of view with respect to areas they think need to be addressed. And we're all in this together, and it's a good, healthy thing. Although there have been a couple cities where things have gotten out of hand a little bit, but that's getting controlled and locked down. So, it's just part of America where you can express your opinion, and the government protects your right to do so. So it's a great country. It's not perfect, but there's so many good things here. And there's a big opportunity for people that are interested in business or healthcare, education, and we're stronger with the more diverse our population is. So the government encourages it, we encourage it. The immigrant investor is a huge asset as they come in for so many different reasons, but their expertise and what they bring to our country and make it stronger and better, we're very encouraging and welcoming and very bullish, of course, on the United States.
Wonderful, and a great note to end on. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. I hope that conversation was illuminating, and there'll be an opportunity to follow up with both gentlemen on the call later on. So thank you very much for joining, and good afternoon.
Thank you.